Today we're talking about escalation management, but more than that, we're talking about how to be an active part of the solution when things go off track. Escalation isn't just raising a red flag, it's an end-to-end process from recognizing when a risk becomes an issue, to developing options, making recommendations, and supporting the decision-making needed to get things back on track. Let's start with the RAID log. This is your central hub for tracking risks, assumptions, issues, and dependencies. And most issues, well, they actually start as risks. Over time, if those risks aren't properly mitigated, their probability and severity increase, and they eventually turn into real issues that demand your attention. At this point, our problem-solving approach takes center stage. First up is clearly stating the problem. You'd be surprised how often this gets skipped, and not clearly defining the problem ends up muddying the waters. So start there, state the problem, clean and simple. Next, let's dig into the root causes. Develop some hypotheses about what might be driving the issue. With these hypotheses in hand, you'll be able to conduct better analysis and accumulate different findings that will lead you to conclusions about the root cause of the problem. Now it's time to generate options. There's never just one solution. There's always a set of trade-offs, and yes, in some cases, doing nothing is a valid choice. Your job is to lay out the options, weigh the pros and cons, and show what happens with each path forward. If appropriate, it's at this point you can also make recommendations to leadership. Once everything is clearly communicated, it's time to drive toward a decision, and make sure that decision is communicated to the right people in the right forum. Now, when it comes to escalation management, these escalations typically flow through 3 layers. First, it's the execution layer. This is where risks and issues are usually first identified as teams are planning and executing in the trenches. Then, it's the management layer. This is where issues are reviewed across work streams and potential solutions are shaped collaboratively. And finally, the oversight layer, usually a steering committee or just a project sponsor for smaller initiatives, where the final decision gets made. Referencing our problem-solving approach, here's the typical division of work. The execution layer validates findings and tests conclusions. They're closest to the issue. The management layer helps shape and prioritize options, often across functions or teams. And the oversight layer makes the decision, and they need a clear case and well-structured recommendation to get there. Now, how long does this all take? Well, it depends, and it's really on the severity and potential time constraints. But let's walk through an example. Say it's the start of the month, and we need to resolve a critical issue in time for the steering committee meeting 3 weeks from now. Week 1 we'll use to validate the findings and confirm conclusions. We'll use the weekly team status meeting to restate the problem and make it clear that it is a priority. Week 2 we'll shift to developing options. We'll use the status meeting to share the draft working options and ask for input from workstream leads and their teams. Week 3, it's finalizing recommendations. We'll use this last team meeting before the steering to align, and on Thursday, present our case to steering and hopefully drive towards a decision in that meeting. What's not captured in that neat little timeline are the ad hoc conversations behind the scenes. The one-on-ones, the working sessions, the check-ins over coffee. In some cases, I've even had to schedule dinner meetings to help generate buy-in. That's the political side of consulting, and navigating that well is often what determines success. Now, what the final product looks like and is presented to leadership could look like this. Here's a simple one-pager example. It lays out the options clearly, shows the benefits, the trade-offs, and offers a recommendation if appropriate. A visual like this makes it easy to digest and really frames the decision to be made. We'll be sharing more examples in our community this week that speak not just to the timeline issues, but also quality and overall scope issues. Let's end with some overall guiding principles. When leading on a project, make sure you understand the decision-making structure for escalation management. This is making sure that you're answering the right question, following the right decision process, in the right forums, with the right decision makers. From there, stick to the facts, be transparent and communicative, and finally, manage the politics. We explore these a little further in the bootcamp, and you can check that out using the links below.